Yes, my PhD is rooted in the intersections of disability education and mental health. And while the academic world loves big words, I prefer real stories. My thesis is literally called Making Lived Experiences Matter. And I truly believe that every lived experience, whether it is something huge as a diagnosis, which is life changing, or something unexpected, like what happened to me losing a pet, all of these can teach us the three concepts which I have been trying to wrestle with in my thesis and in my life and in my work, whether it's advocacy or in consultations in mental health. It is vulnerability, agency, and empowerment. This time, the learning is more nuanced through the lens of the disappearance of my our pet cat Zoro. So let me set the scene for you. We have a front door uh, which needed a little extra push to be closed, but my son, who was in a hurry to go for his football camp, probably missed the push, and so the door was partially left open. And you can imagine when we have cats, the curious ones. I have three, and all are indoors. I was in my room, so when my husband came back, the door was wide open, and Cashew and Zara, my other two, were very peaceful, perched on a cat tree. So we thought, okay, Zoro must be somewhere here. He wasn't spotted. He was generally aloof after he was neutered. So we didn't really give a frantic search then. Vulnerability hadn't hit because we were confident. We knew that, okay, Zoro is here because these two are here and they're looking peaceful. But by afternoon, he didn't come. Then it hit the vulnerability, which is I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Is Zoro here or is he hiding or is he not there? And I don't know how to fix this. What am I supposed to do? And almost half a day has passed and I'm still at work and I wasn't prepared for this. That is where vulnerability starts, and it is not necessarily always with one big event like this, but it can also be. And this can sound familiar, exactly like what happens to families the day when they receive a disability diagnosis for their child. It's a big impact. It's a pause. Okay, what do we know about this? We know a little bit, but not entirely. And it is very painful because we don't know, okay, now what? There is no clarity, there is no exact pathway, and that's exactly like how I felt. Now, through a trauma informed lens, if I have to look at this, I don't know. That's where trauma begins, where it a big event or a series of smaller events where we are stuck for answers. We don't know what to do. We do not have clarity. Things are unpredictable and we don't have the support, or we don't even know who to ask for support, what kind of support to ask. And we can feel alone in this emotion. And that emotion almost always starts with anxiety, which is I don't know, and our brains start to scramble and we can either tend to blame ourselves, why didn't I check if my son had closed the door, and I can blame myself, I should have just come out and said bye, then I could have locked it, or I can blame my son and my husband saying why didn't you check. So this blame narrative starts, and then we can spiral into shame. I should have checked, I should have really checked he was inside. This is what happens even in with families of disability. What all did we do which went wrong? What did I do? Was it pregnancy? Mostly it is again the women, or everybody is trying to find the reason and how could we have prevented this event from happening. And that becomes a trap, a shame and blame trap which spirals within. Even if nobody else is actively doing that, we can spiral within us because we don't know what else to do. So if we need to move from this vulnerability towards doing something, we have to act, we have to seek the knowledge. And what we did was, of course, Google. We asked people around, posted on social media or forums, asking ChatGPT, read everything. What do we do? So in our case, of course, we are in a building. It's reasonably a safe space and not. It's kind of cat friendly because we've seen lots of cats around. We received a lot of well-meaning advice. Every single person who advised was really, really good and nice and well meaning. They really meant to support us. Just like how families of children with disabilities after diagnosis, everybody might be coming there to support. But now you will think that, okay, that should give us the agency. You should feel that, okay, now you have all the answers, just go to it. But no, when I got all this information, it was too much. It was just too much. And I don't know what to do, which one to start, how far to go with one pathway before I explore the next, or do I do all of this all at once? What about the other responsibilities that I have? Do that come to a pause? So there are things like, okay, searching, put up posters, keep the litter outside, keep food outside, go for night patrols, early morning, dawn, dusk patrols, searching for Zorro. And I even heard something which I have never heard before, which is animal communicators, which I didn't even know such a profession existed. So I'm Googling about it. Very, very skeptical, but then the people who referred them are very credible and I really respect them. So very confused. I'm speaking to multiple people, getting more information, and some which hit very hard because one said that animal communicators might not really give you the answers, but might say why the cat is not returning. And I read another story, or I heard one which said that a dog did not return because the family did one of the family members did not love him enough, and that then I'm thinking, okay, what did I love Zorro enough, or maybe my husband prefers dogs. So this again is creating a blame shame cycle, though the people who told me the stories did not mean to blame or shame me, but I started doing this to myself. So we are going again. So I'm again angry with my husband because you didn't love the cat enough. And so there was agency. We were doing a lot of things, just like how with families, they were doing everything in their capacity, following every advice, looking for advice everywhere, asking everybody, doing everything. Yet there was this huge sense of blame and shame internally, and also from little things, even if from a well-meaning place, was overwhelming. It's too much, and that's when we hit this uh, complete helplessness, and it was going too fast, and I was hitting overwhelmed, and my brain was freezing, and I was spiraling, and that intersected with my mental health. I wasn't sleeping. I started overeating. I am snapping and irritable at my son for random things. I'm guilt tripping myself to the start of why did I even bring them home? Why did we bring them home? Maybe he wanted to roam outside and so many things. Maybe I should let these two also go. Maybe they also don't want to stay stuck. It was just spiraling and it was too much, and that was not helping. The third concept, empowerment, was not happening, though vulnerability, the knowledge, the skill, and the support was there, but it was too much, and that also was blocking agency. So it felt to my nervous system, it feels like a block to my agency there, which is what happens to parents when they receive a diagnosis. It's like a huge avalanche. Do that, do this, fix this, start early, early intervention. Don't waste the time. You have to do this. Didn't you try that? Did you try this? And the pressure was just too much. And all of it is going on to the people who are actually there. And we do that. We do that. I was doing this more to the other sibling also, like with Cashew. I was trying to get him a leash and make him go outside, like how we do with children when there is one child who's either older or more able or more functional, gets to overcompensate because I am struggling with the other child. We do that, right? And with this child, we are not even oblivious to the struggle of what the other child is going through. And this disconnects. I wasn't being safe within myself, hitting a burnout, shame spiraling. Brains cannot learn when we are shaming and blaming ourselves. Our brain will not learn if there is so much blame given to us from outside, or we internalize it and it was going inward, and we and when we hold it so much inward, we will throw it outside too. We start blaming the system, we start blaming everything. The people out there are bad, the Zorro is not coming back because I was just blaming everybody for no reason, but it was just happening. And that was me. So at night, and yes, with all the education, PhD in these three topics, vulnerability, agency, and empowerment itself, and as a mental health professional, 25 years of experience. And this is what was happening to me. And I was writing obsessively, and I knew that was my way to slow down. I really had to slow down and eventually pause and do nothing and just sit slowly. And I started recreating, thinking, okay, how else can I remember? By then it was 10 days. So I was wondering, okay, maybe I should believe that I should remember this as this was destined to happen. He was adopted. And kind of an acceptance of what had happened. Okay, and he is not coming back. And I need to learn how to grieve. And as I was moving down, he's there. He's appeared. Somebody spotted him in the CCTV, and the other kids spotted. And then all the hope started, okay, we can find him again. It's just like how somebody comes up with a new treatment and says, okay, this worked for that person there. And again, the hope spikes. And then, or sometimes you will believe that, okay, my child is not going to speak, and that's okay. We can make peace with it. We will do other ways of communication. Suddenly, one word is uttered, and we go back spiraling to maybe the old methods. We don't know which direction. And this is not easy. All the emotions spike, all the trauma response, the sense of urgency, the crowding, the chasing, and Zorro was running farther and farther, and he was getting more and more scared of me. He can spot me, he can see me, but he was not coming close to me. So the connect that I was trying to build, I was doing exactly the opposite. And sometimes we do that, right? Even in the field of when we are here as supporters or healers, sometimes we rush to fix the other, rush, and that can create more harm. Maybe it's not at their pace, and that's exactly what I did. And but all well-meaning, we were trying to help. And yeah, Cashew was discomforted. I'm delaying. Zara had to be spared, but I'm delaying because I cannot handle that. So basically, I'm discomforting everybody around me as well, and it was so bad. And we do that in our real life too. If we are not slowing down and we are spiraling in blame and shame cycles, we tend to give that to everybody around. We don't deserve that. People around us don't deserve it. And so I slowed down. I started keeping food outside. Okay, at least let it start little goals. He needs to be fed. It's okay if I don't catch him. Breaking down the goals. He needs food. So I left the food there and he was eating. So every night I don't know what time he's coming. I stopped following and checking. So he got into a rhythm. I got into a rhythm. Every night I'm leaving the food in the same spot. Next day morning when I go, it's eaten, and I'm going to believe it. It is Zorro because he can still be spotted around in the same neighborhood. There are two other cats that I spotted who are now I'm seeing more. Maybe earlier I wouldn't see, but I started seeing them, and probably they are eating too well enough good, and that's how you form these cliques, like how parents form groups. So I started talking to more to those friends who have cats, and I'm noticing that I'm going there more and more, and I realized Zoro was becoming the orchard cat. That's our building. And yeah, and it was okay that he was taking it at his pace, and it was okay that I was taking it at my pace. And that's how we learn to work with groups or individuals who we propose to support as professionals too, right? At their pace, at our pace, no hurry, no urgency, no blame, shame. If progress doesn't happen, we are not shaming ourselves as professionals, nor are we shaming the client or the child because they're not progressing the way we want to. We can change our methodologies, but the goal is the same, arriving at peace. So how do we summarize this experience within the three concepts? So here is how I would say it, as if you need to take away. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is that time when we feel little disoriented with I don't know. And whether it is a diagnosis, an event, or whatever is happening in front of us, the first thing is I don't know. And that's real and that's valid. And we need that knowledge, we need the skill, and we need the support system. And all these three are missing. Yes, we can stay vulnerable. How do we move towards agencies when there is too much knowledge, too many people offering support? That also can block agency. So it's a right balance. And who decides this balance? we get to decide that balance for ourselves. So agency is what will help us move, to ask, to try different things. It's not too fast that we flood ourselves, and or it's not like we are giving too much and we are overwhelming people, and because we feel powerful and we have so much, so go ahead and give, and maybe we are cornering them saying do it and do it now, and as I say, no, that's not how we empower people. So empowerment doesn't come with a rush. It comes very, very slowly. It comes in tiny little decisions and in quiet regulation. And it's not like you find a perfect professional or a therapist and there is a breakthrough moment. There can be, but that's not how it is. It is life. It is ongoing. There is no one golden solution and tada, we have sorted. So even if Zorro is coming back, there is a big chance he will run away. But I have to make peace with how am I going to deal with this situation. And it is to remember ourselves and to the others that even if things are not going our way, I'm still okay. I can still be okay. I'm still whole. I am still a good mother to Zoro, and he is still a very good cat, and we can do that. And empowerment is knowing that life is unpredictable, it is messy, and yes, sometimes it's heartbreaking, and yet we can be okay. We are all okay, and we can learn and we can unlearn that shame and blame is what blocks healing, it blocks agency, whether we are doing it internally or whether we are putting it outside, it doesn't help. So, whether it is your child, yourself, your pet, healing is never linear. We can slow down and learning can stay. And that's how we can integrate disability, mental health, and learning or education and make lived experiences matter. Thank you.